Hi, my name is Maisy Purvis, and you are watching the Permanent Rain Press.
Hi everyone, it's Chloe with the Permanent Rain Press today. I am so happy to be joined by Ella Maisy Purvis. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm excited.
I'm so excited to be chatting with you about Patience. It's such a fantastic show, as I was just saying ahead of time. But before we get into the series and your role, I do have to ask you, how is Puzzles or Honey? I was reading that you call her different names, and I saw her Instagram, and I'm
You've
like,
done
I
your
have to ask about
research.
your cat.
Oh, she's doing fantastically. Thing is, because in England it's very very rainy, and she doesn't live with me. She lives with my mum and dad. She comes in and she has the muddiest paws, and so I get kind of pictures from my mum of like all the dirt. I'm just trying to find one, all of the dirt that she brings in because she's so mucky. Look at this. Look at her paws. It's so muddy.
You're like cleaning up after everywhere she walks, but it's worth it,
Honestly,
right?
honestly, it's so worth it. Thank you for asking. She's doing great.
Of course, I love asking about furry friends, and it's always like an added plus when I get to see an animal in an interview. But like you mentioned, she's with your parents right
I
now, but hopefully
wish.
you'll see her soon.
Yes, yes.
Let's talk a bit about your background because, what can you tell me? I know you have a dance background, but tell me about it and that spark that made you want to pursue the arts as a career.
Yeah, I mean, kind of. I was an actual ballet, like a proper ballet dancer. Kind of, I trained, you know, a lot, and it was kind of my whole life for a while. But I think I was 17, and then kind of lockdown came, and I realized that because I think lockdown tested everyone's sort of passions and just general life, obviously. And I realized I was like, I don't love it enough to be doing this for a career. And I knew that I wanted to go into the arts because I was terrible at maths and science. I didn't love English enough to kind of find a career. I couldn't teach. So I was like, I know what I'm going to do. So I just overnight stopped dancing and was like, well, I'll just become an actor then. That feels like kind of the natural progression. And it was literally an overnight switch, and I just decided I was like, right, okay, I'm gonna go to drama school, I'm gonna get an agent. I read all of the plays in the kind of tiny broom cupboard of a drama department. Um, and yeah, I mean, I loved dance because it was a way of communicating, and then I kind of loved this industry because it was a way of communicating, you know?
It's always different forms of like, art and movement, especially like coming from that dance background. You also like did contemporary as well. So, I mean, do you remember, like, do you have favorite productions that you were a part of during your dance history?
Do you know, I mean, I've got loads of favorite shows that we did, but I think the one thing that I remember and cherish about dance is because also when you're in a ballet class, it's not that it's you can't have a good time, but you're there to kind of be taught, ripped apart, and kind of do the moves, if that makes sense. And I had a friend called Daisy, and you know those kind of people where if you just look at them, it's just curtains. You just start laughing. And I don't think I've ever laughed so much than I have with my dance friend Daisy, just like crying with laughter. Everything was funny. I remember like we were doing an exam and I was at the bar like shaking and I was like, it's really funny because I can see the back of her head moving and it's really funny. So I think that's what I cherish most. Yeah.
I love that. I feel like it was such a distraction, though, I'm sure, for like your instructor and maybe the
Oh,
class.
I was awful. It was so rude. It was really disrespectful. I got told off many times. But do you know what? For the giggles, I was like, "Oh, okay, I'm gonna keep doing it because it's so funny when you're not supposed to laugh and you laugh, you know?
Who are some specific people or places that have really helped you cultivate and grow your skill set as an artist? But we'll say specifically like an actor, especially as of late for what you're doing now.
as of late, I think I go through kind of phases of actors that I sort of really gravitate towards and kind of hyperfixate on and like watch everything that they do. And I'm like, well, this is who I'm gonna work with. I mean, I remember it was at first it was Rosamund Pike, and I remember I saw her in Die Another Day. I loved James Bond when I was younger, and I still do now. I saw her in Die Another Day, and I remember thinking, just like I think really because she was gorgeous and she exuded confidence, and then obviously she was amazing in Gone Girl. Um, And my mum actually, she's a town planner, really random story. My mum's a town planner and she helped her with her extension on her house. Because she had like she doesn't work privately, but she like had a friend. Um and then they helped her with the plans for her conservatory. Anyway. Um but yeah, and then Sharon Horgan, her writing is incredible. And I think all of her little like facial expressions and little quips and little kind of just the way that she's just so her snide little remarks. I think that she's just like masterful. I think she's like one of the best, comedy and drama actresses ever. Um, I'm trying to think because it changes all the time. Mm, Emily Blunt, My Summer of Love. She was so good in that. I'm gonna leave it there because I'm gonna keep going on and on and
Of
on.
course, but I was going to ask you about this later, but I'll ask you about her now because I know you are a fan of Rebecca Ferguson's work and career. So can you expand upon your love for her and her projects? I know you also had like a very visual acting goal that you wanted to be in the Mission Impossible movies. So maybe
It's
just talk a
yeah,
bit about that.
it's a guilty pleasure thing. It's like a guilt like and also they're fantastic films. They're like an experience in themselves, like those kind of big spy movies. Like I remember watching Mission Impossible, James Bond, and thinking like, oh, I could do this because they make you think that you could like run across a building and like, you know, kill someone. But I think I'm drawn towards Rebecca Ferguson because I think I'm just drawn towards all of these fantastic women and their confidence, and they're so unapologetically sexy and kind of sensual and seductive. And I mean, I'm not. I think I would crawl out of my skin if I don't think that doesn't come naturally to me. So when I see, these really powerful women who like hold, like, she's acted against Tom Cruise. I mean, like, it's Tom Cruise. He's got all the power in the world, and she still kind of manages to hold her own. Um, yeah, I think I'm just really drawn towards her. And also, she was fantastic in Is Rose the Hat. Have you seen that film, Doctor Sleep? Oh, definitely watch that. That is an incredible film.
She was so fantastic as Elsa Faust. And we'll do a little disclaimer, spoiler alert for Dead Reckoning Part One, but her character was done so wrong. I know there are a lot of things behind the scenes that maybe made that
I
happen.
don't care.
You're like they should have done better for her. She was such a scene stealer, like you mentioned, like being able to hold her own against obviously Tom Cruise's Ethan Hunt, but yeah, just phenomenal in that role. And I mean, hopefully you get another role similar in the future. I'm sure. I know you said it doesn't come naturally, but all part of being an actor, I'm sure to step into a role like that would kind of emulate all these kind of powerful
Mm,
fictional characters that you look up to would be a goal
yeah.
for you.
I think with the right tailoring and the right dress, I think it maybe I could do something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But in terms of training, you did do like a 1 year kind of diploma degree at LAMDA. So can you tell me a bit about your studies there and what you took away?
Well, I moved to London when I was 17 or just 18, and I think the main thing that drama school taught me it was a discipline, but in a different way to ballet. Like I never lived alone before. I kind of suddenly, no one was telling me like you have to do the work and go beyond. And so you have to make that choice for yourself. And I feel like I did. I feel like I kind of, I, it taught me to like have a drive, and as well as much as that drive is like really good that you feel it, you've got to actually send some emails out. You've got to be a little bit cheeky. Um, and also I knew absolutely nothing about you know, methods and practices and, you know, Meisner. Didn't know any of that. And so, you know, on a technical level, it was, you know, really helpful. And also, again, there's something about a class. I've never laughed more in those classes because you're not meant to laugh because it's serious. But I remember I was sitting next to my friend, my good friend Annie, who I'm still friends with. Um, and we talk about it all the time, just like the tears, just like tears of laughter because it's not funny and you're not allowed to laugh and someone is in front of you just like pouring their heart out. But like she would just whisper stupid things in my ear and suddenly it's just like the funniest thing in the world. Although I never got caught at LAMDA actually. I will now, but
It's okay to reveal it now. You're done. You have the
I'm out there,
diploma
guys.
and you've made it into the industry, which I mean, it hasn't kind of hindered you so far. You were diagnosed with ADHD and autism around 4 years ago. So, if you're
Oh,
comfortable
shit.
sharing, can you tell me a bit about how your diagnoses helped you in your life and really just understanding who you are?
I think diagnoses in general, people often think that they'll kind of tie you down or, you know, limit you. And it's the complete opposite. You know, I remember this was kind of in an assessment or just like I can't remember what it was, but this woman said to me, she was like, listen, you make great eye contact. You're really engaging. I was like, oh, thank you. Um, but she was like, you know, I don't want to diagnose you in case this holds you back. Or like I don't want to kind of, you know, give you that label. I was sitting in her office. I was like, you do realize that the reason why I'm here is because I can't deal with this anymore. I'm not doing this just to like for fun. I'm not here on a jolly. And I think, you know, it's a common thing with women, you know, femme presenting people. Like often everything's ignored and, you know, it, like, you know, your pain is never t you know, taken seriously, whether that be like physical pain or, you know, if you're struggling with your mental health. But yeah, in terms of my experience, it was, yeah, it did set me free. It kind of, it took a lot of pressure off of me. Because I was like, well, I'm not broken or just fundamentally different. No, not fundamental. Like, I mean, I am fundamentally different, but there's a reason for this, and I don't have to blame myself anymore, I guess. So, yeah.
Thank you for sharing all of that. I'm sure it was like it's always, and I can't even pretend to relate to what you have gone through, but it's always something where, you know, you're always kind of looking for answers. So just to hear those words and kind of maybe it helps you understand some of like your actions, motivations in the past, and you're kind of being able to showcase that on a wider scale now to audiences. Before we get into a kind of spark, I know your first TV credit was as Girl One in a season
Yeah.
one episode of Heartstopper. So, do you remember your experience reciting your line and being on set of such a big production?
I do. And I remember the audition process as well, because that was an open call. I remember I applied and I got quite far into the kind of casting process, I think for Imogen. Um, and I didn't get it, obviously. But I think again, like Daniel Edwards, Lucy Allen, and Tom Payne, the kind of the casting team for that, I love them, and they've, you know, helped me so much in my career. Like I kind of owe everything to them because they are fantastic. But it kind of also it taught me don't ask, don't get. because I wouldn't have gotten that kind of little bit part if I didn't kind of email them and be like, hey, or like I'd really love to chat because I don't really know what's the filming thing is in, and I don't really know what the industry is, and I'd love to have a chat. And what about agents and drama school and and they were kind enough to help me. Um, but it was so cool. I've actually still got wait. I've still got the little they put like a little label on my costume. And it says girl number 3, but I was girl number 1. I've still got it. It was really cute. But yeah, it was really special, and I thought it was the most exciting thing in the world, and it was. And I'm just so grateful that my life has gotten more exciting. Um, but yeah, oh,
I
loved
mean,
it.
not everyone can say their very first acting credit was in Heartstopper, which you can say, and like you mentioned, the cute little costume tag you got to take home
Mhm.
with you. Some very interesting, exciting roles as you played both Elinor and Bonnie in different seasons of A Kind of Spark. So, what can you say about these two characters and how these roles challenged you?
I think Eleanor physically challenged me because I was wearing like a wig and a big kind of costume. And at first, I was like, this is so cool. I'm like in a period drama and I'm like a proper actor now. And then kind of the novelty of that wears off very quickly because all you want to do is just like scratch your head or like, you know, just move and you can't. But that was fantastic. And also, do you know what? I don't watch it back, but when I watched it, um, I think it was when season 2 came out, I kind of watched them all just to like catch myself up because just I forget anyway. Um, I remember I could see how like hesitant and nervous I kind of was because it was my first day on a set for longer than, 6 hours. And I remember I was pretending to know what all the lingo was. They were like, yeah, we're just gonna do da 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 and da da, we're gonna meet you. And I was going, yeah, course, yeah. What the fuck did that mean? And that was fantastic. And it taught me a lot. And then Bonnie, wildly different. And again, I think because I'd had like more experience, I felt more comfortable on a set. And also, Kind of Spark is fantastic. It's, such a lovely group of people. And, you know, we all, yeah, we all loved being there. And we were filming an island and that was fun. And we were all kind of living together. And yeah, it was a great experience.
To be a part of an important project like this one with so many neurodivergent creatives and talent, what did that mean to be able to reach and relate to viewers?
For a Kind of Spark, I mean, I'm just so grateful that I think it's fantastic that it was aimed towards younger adults, teens and children, um, because kind of they're the most important generation, and that's yeah, I think it makes it more accessible for adults and for younger people. Just the way that the story was told and the characters were formed and you know whatnot. But yeah, I mean, it was yeah, it was fantastic. I can't really say a bad word about it, and I'm so glad that people were like, "Oh, I really relate to this," because job done, I guess.
There's been so much positive fan response for the show,
Yeah,
and you've gotten fan art as well. So has it
I
been wild to
know.
kind of see that and how talented people are?
I know. Honestly, in some of the like, I can't like what they called like edits and stuff, and people and like the songs they choose, and it's just so fantastic that it's something that people like carry with them or just for a moment in their life really love like that's fantastic.
And for you, I'm sure it's always a huge compliment to be brought back as a different character between the two seasons and kind of get to dive into to someone else. We will get into Patience now. You star as, of course, Patience Evans. What qualities in her attracted you to this character, and were there any elements that made you nervous going into production?
Again, with Patience, it was an open call, and I remember reading the script, um And my audition scene was like the bit in the kind of cafeteria, like the dining bit where she goes on, she's like talking about dead bodies whilst this poor detective is like, and that kind of idea of saying things at the wrong time, or you know I've always done that. She's just like, why would you say that here? Why would you open your mouth? And I'm like, well, I kind of thought that it was really relevant, and I'm going to carry on because when people are looking at you like, I'm like, what? I'm gonna keep going because I've started now and I'm not gonna stop. um yeah, I mean, I think going into it, it was scared, excited, scared. I think I mean, I didn't feel pressure from anyone but myself. I was like, right, okay, this is like, you're in, you need to make sure this is good. Like, you don't have any time to be like nervous. And that made me nervous. But again, really positive experience. We filmed it in Belgium as well, in Antwerp, and that was fantastic. That was gorgeous. Lovely Nathan Welsh is lovely. Laura's lovely. Mark's lovely. Liza's, everyone was lovely. Martin's lovely, the director. Alison's lovely. Everyone was lovely.
This character is so kind of layered, and I love that we kind of get to, peel back layers, and especially with her going on her journey in the first season. How old is Patience supposed to be in the show?
Oh, sorry, you might hear sirens. Don't know what's going on. Um, I don't know. Well, I'm 21. And I remember the kind of character description was she was in her late 20s. And I remember reading it thinking, rude. Because obviously when you're 20, someone that's 29, it's just like, oh, you're so old. Ew. You're not, but I mean, because there's references to her in the 90s. So I would say I'd go 26, 27, late 20s, late 20s. But I mean, I don't know if I have a baby face or not. I've been told I have a little bit of a baby face, but sometimes I look really, really haggard. Just like when the light kind of like hits wrong and I catch myself and I'm like, and I'm like, oh God, dear God, Ella, wow.
So you're really
Um,
channeling that version of Ella, but I'm sure hair and makeup also like helped with that, and making you appear maybe later 20s on screen. The show
it was
takes
lack of sleep. That's what it was.
you're like you woke up in the morning, you're like they don't have to do anything. I'm ready
Yeah,
to go.
basically, yeah.
The show does take influence from the French series Astrid et Raphaelle. Were you familiar with this program and did you watch it at all in preparation?
I wasn't familiar with it and I didn't watch it because I knew if I watched it, then I would like steal things. And it's an adaptation, but I think it's wildly different. I think Astrid and Patience are very, very different characters. The basis of them, both autistic, lanky blondes. Um, but I think they're really, really different characters, and I was keen not to. And I think everyone was keen to kind of like, say that this is based on something, but it is a very different show. Um, but I mean, I mean, I'm following all of the lovely, French patients and in French B, and I see sometimes like clips and stuff, and it's really funny to watch, because it is to an extent French patients and B. Like I remember when I found out it was an adaptation, I searched it up, and I was like, oh God, that is just me and Laura, but like different in a different universe, like looks wise. That was really funny. But yeah, I think they're very different shows.
It's always nice to, I'm sure, be like, oh, this is where it kind of came from, but have the same essence of these characters' relationships. But like you mentioned, crafting your own identity as a show and with these characters. You've said that it was a very collaborative process in shaping Patience. So can you give a specific example of feedback or input that you were able to contribute to her in this series?
Yeah, I remember. when I got the role, I then received all the scripts, and I kind of I was reading them, and I noticed the sort of like flicker between her and this other character, Elliot. And I can't remember who I said this to. I was like, well, she likes him. Why don't they just make out? Like, she's an adult woman. She has a job. She has cats, mice, and a lizard. Like, if she likes this person, just kiss him. And they're like, oh yeah, that's a really good point, actually. Um, and so I did. Lovely Tom Lewis. Yeah, and I think it was really important for me that as much as I think she is, sometimes she is really vulnerable and scared and kind of needs guidance. She is also an adult woman. Um, and if you like someone, what are you going to do about it? And she's very straightforward and blunt. And so give him a cheeky snog, do you know what I mean?
I loved that scene, and I do want to ask about it a bit later on, her having that agency. But first off, which was your favorite episode in season one and why? And we will give a disclaimer that we are discussing spoilers, and I'll include a note on the video as well.
Maybe episode 5? Episode 5 or episode 2. I think because I was the best in them. That's what I kind of, because the scenes were like, not I was the best person anyway, but like I liked my choices. No, so selfishly those two. Um, and also, spoiler alert, when she's like gonna get shot in the knee, that was so fun to do. So fun to do. Oh my gosh. Like whenever the camera they would shout like cut and go and you'd be like, oh yeah, that was so fun. That was a good one, wasn't it? We got to do it again and again. It was really cool. So yeah, I think episode 5 and 2.
I love that you can kind of turn that on and off. It seems
Bit
like
psychopathic.
it just like the switch clicks and you're like, I'm good. But yeah,
Yeah.
super emotional episode, especially episode five. So was that your favorite scene in episode one to be a part of as well, you would say, or is there another one that also stands out?
I don't know. I mean, like also a lot of other scenes that I'm not in, I usually was behind the camera because it's actually quite a small core cast, so we were always all sort of on set for at least one scene every day. Um, and so a lot of the scenes I kind of got to watch. Um, so, one that I've mentioned before, man getting set on fire, episode one? Yeah, episode 1. So cool. So cool. And like he was, they have to like lather themselves up in this kind of thingamajig. And this guy was like, yeah, no, no, we can do it again. We can do it again. I was like, he's gonna be set on fire. So cool.
You mentioned
Yeah.
being like on the top of the kind of car park and like feeling the heat of the flames as well.
I mean, it was all health and safety. It was all done, perfectly safely. But it's so hot. And they can only do, I think it's like 15 seconds or something. Um, and yeah, I mean, when I like actually saw it like episode 1, because like when I was watching it, I was like this man was like gelled and like mass, and you've got the massive suit on. But when you watch it, you're like, oh my God, it actually looks like it's your man who's poured petrol all over himself. Like it looks so real because it is to a point. Um, yeah, that was great.
Can you tell me about Patience's headphones and what they signify in her identity and as a safe space?
Yeah, I mean, it's really funny because I saw a video about kind of contradicting kind of needs and like irks as an autistic person, and it was like if there's like a noise or like loud music in another room, I'm like, oh, that's so annoying, turn that off. My headphones always, I'm like, I always get the warning on my phone where it's like you need to turn your volume down because my earphones always have like 100% volume in them. And I think I think just on a practical level, you can control your sensory input. You can control what you hear. And when you kind of have that sense of, I know what's coming next, it alleviates a lot of anxiety and you don't have to listen to the sirens or the buses. And it just kind of it makes things a lot easier. And I think it's probably it is the same for patients. Um, and actually, it's funny because the director Martin, he was like, "What do you think that patients would listen to in her headphones?" And I thought that she'd listen to like dad rock, like song, like 80s, 70s, like what her dad would listen to. And he was like, "No, I don't think so." And I was like, "Okay." He was like, "I think she would listen to classical music," and he created this playlist, and I listened to it, and I was like, "Yeah, all right, fine, okay, okay, Martin, you win." Um, But yeah, it's just safety and control in a world that you can't control and isn't made for you, I guess.
I love hearing you kind of like imitate Martin as well. Like you're doing it in his voice. So your own, you have headphones in real life. Would you say that's the object that has the same comforting and grounding effect on you, or is there something else as well that you like to turn to for that comfort and as a kind of safe space?
I mean, definitely headphones when I'm out and about, always. Um, I think this is really funny actually. This is so my mum went to kind of this like craft class and they were all instructed to make like seagulls and so you follow the teacher and whatnot. She made this. It's meant to be my cat. It's meant to be puzzles, honey. So she made this and we call her, him, them Master Shifu, um, because it looks a little bit like that. I can't. What animal is Master Shifu in Kung Fu Panda?
I can't say I've seen that.
What? You've not seen Kung Fu Panda? Oh my God. Well, that's you've got two recommendations. Anyway, it's like a good omen kind of thing that watches over me and brings me a lot of comfort. Also, that is just ridiculous, Mum. Just make a seagull like everyone else. Do you know what I mean? What are you doing?
Thinking outside of the box.
Yeah, yeah, certainly outside of the box. That's really left field there, Mum.
Patience herself, she's very hard on herself with the advice she gives to others. You know, she says it in the show, she doesn't like to be wrong, maybe more so than the average person. So how was it for you to get in this headspace and did you relate to this aspect of her?
Oh, I hate being wrong. And I can always give but not take because I'm just really egotistical and I'm like, I just know better than everyone else. I don't think Patience is like that. I don't think she's got my kind of elated ego. Um, but excuse me, but again, it's I think for her about having control over the thing that she loves and when she gets something wrong like criminology forensics her job is it's almost her whole life and when you kind of have someone infiltrate that space or way of thinking it's really scary and kind of breaks routine I guess but yeah she is very rigid in her thinking and I think it's, also autistic people are so empathetic. And often people are like, you know, autistic people don't feel anything. And it's genuinely the direct opposite. And, getting something wrong means someone, doesn't get the right information, which is scary and bad. And oh no, this is my fault. And I guess it kind of leads to a spiral of I'm an awful person and I'm stupid. And, autistic people feel things so much. So that definitely plays into it.
She definitely internalizes a lot of things in the world, all those critiques. How would you define Patience and Bee's relationship? and why patience kind of learns to trust and let her in, not only as a coworker, but as a friend.
I think because no one has given Patience a look in before, like no one really gives her the time of day. And so immediately when this, you know, woman kind of respects her and respects the way that she thinks and kind of accommodates her, it's very new for Patience, it's very new for Bea, and they're almost in the same starting place. You know, they don't know anything about each other, but you know, the one thing that they do have is kind of a drive, and you know, Bea actually, you know, doesn't write her off as, you know, like in episode one, there's that kind of her line manager or manager that's like, you should definitely email because she's really weird, or like, you know, ooh, you don't want to do that. She's all, you know, she's really difficult to deal with. Um, so she's had that experience of people just being like, I can't do it, I can't deal with her. She's just like, no. Um, but it's funny, Laura's spoken about this before about how it's, I think because of the age difference, there is some sort of maternal kind of feeling towards it. And it was a bit like that on set because Laura always carries snacks. And I remember she did, because she lived below me when we were in Antwerp, she did my washing a couple of times. Um, she fed me and we went out for dinner and she paid. You know, art imitates life.
I just love their relationship. And it's also said in the show when I think it's her and Baxter, and it's almost like he considers her, he's like, it'd be good for diversity hire, to help clear the cases. But she really attempts to understand patients. And obviously there's that connection with her son, with Alfie as well. And to see patients connect with him, that was such a treat to kind of see on screen.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and again, it's just like people, you know, neurodivergent people tend to clan together whether they know it or not. Um, and it's funny, I always think that the relationship between Patience and B, Patience and Alfie sort of mirrors because, you know, Patience is understands him and takes the time to ask about the things that he likes and show him these things. And you know, B does the same. She, you know, gives her the time of day. But yeah, it was yeah, lovely to work with Laura and Maxwell on those scenes.
Did you and Laura have discussions about your characters on set and before going into key scenes?
um I think on a practical level, I mean, Laura's, I was going to say she's a well-oiled machine. That doesn't sound right. But, you know, she knows her stuff. And so I think the discussions that we had were mainly like practical. Like, you know, the bit where, you know, Patience is like crying. She's like, oh my God, yeah, you're dead. It was more just like practical discussions of like, right, I'm gonna come in this way and just like hold your hand because I think we both trusted each other that we knew what we were gonna do. Um, and we knew that the other kind of, you know, done the work, I guess. Um, but yeah, Laura's so funny as well. She'd just like come out with these amazing one-liners, just like not on camera, and you just turn to her and you go, what on earth have you just said? Or obviously because, you know, she's had a fantastic career, she'll be like, oh, you know, and me and Heath. We'd be like, are you talking about Heath Ledger? Pick up that name. Really? Really? I mean, I don't think she said that exactly, but yeah, she's fantastic.
I read that you wrote each other love
Oh
letters as
yes.
well.
Yes, we did that. I first when it was the rehearsal week and we were in this hotel. We went out for dinner and I was like, "What's your room number? I'm going to put something on your door." And she was like, "I don't know, 506." And I put it onto 605 or something and I was like, "Ooh, that's awkward," because it was this like Victorian-esque like love letter, and then we draw pictures for each other every day and like slide them under our doors, and it was really lovely. It was really, really lovely. It became like a nice little routine. And I've still got them all somewhere. Um, and she sent me a Christmas card. Um, yeah, it was lovely. It was really lovely.
And it's always nice to go into set really just trusting each other and being able to play off each other in
Mm,
scenes. I found Patience and Billy's dynamics really interesting as well as there's like an understanding and kinship between them. And at first glance, they don't appear to be too far apart in age. So,
mm.
in your eyes, how long has she known Billy for, and how did you view their relationship?
That's really interesting. I've never thought about how long they've known each other. It's kind of, I don't think I've thought about it because I kind of assume that they've always been in each other's lives in some way, whether that be, the group that they go to, and she's been going to it for a long time, or, just that they've been friends or, kind of, in the same circles since they were a lot younger. But they're definitely, you know, I think she trusts him indefinitely and he trusts her indefinitely. And I think because they are both autistic, they will always tell each other the truth to some extent. The relationship kind of gets tested, but um yeah, I think that was really valuable, especially to see on screen. Um, they because they have such a tender relationship, I think. And they are there for each other, which is lovely. And Connor's fantastic.
Episode 5 especially is like that big one. Do you kind of think she sees him like a brother in a way?
I don't know. I think it's sort of more like an extension of herself in some way. But no, maybe a sibling kind of relationship is the right way to view it. I think it's just like it's not a question that she'll never not know him, or they've never not known each other, if that makes sense.
So episode 5, very traumatic between the embalmer throwing himself on the car, which I have to say it shocked me watching that for the first time. I was like, that would be so scary. And then obviously the being held at gunpoint. So can you take me through the emotional sequence? I know you said you could kind of snap in and out, but obviously on set, I'm sure it was a very kind of tense day for the people behind the scenes, maybe kind of filming that and putting it together.
Yeah. Well, do you know that when he falls on the car, we'd done about like, I don't know, 5 different takes of it. Um, and Martin, the director, obviously was like, we're gonna maybe do it a little bit earlier so the scream is real. And so we did do it earlier, and that scream was real because I was really scared because I was like, 1, 2, 3, ah! Because I was expecting it to be on 5, say, and it was on 3, and I was like, Martin, I see what you done there. But I felt awful for Andy, the guy that plays Frank Laurie, because he just had to keep throwing himself in the car in the pouring rain. I was like, Andy, mate, do you want to come inside? He's like, no, do you know what? I'm already wet. Like, I'm fine. And then on um the episode 5, like shooting bit, again, everyone was so lovely and we kind of had a laugh about it. Um, and I think I mainly laughed because Nathan couldn't put handcuffs on the your man, gone man. So there were loads of takes of him just being like, oh God, I can't bloody do it! Can't bloody do it! And he was like on top of him, like, sorry, mate, did I nick you there? I don't know why you sounded slightly Australian there, you'd snort. But yeah, I think it was quite tense just because, there's only so many times you can tackle someone to the ground. Before it kind of gets a little bit like, all right, like, could we just make this one the last, please? Um, but yeah, and then I think we filmed other scenes, and like by the end of that kind of like scene, my eyes were like red raw, and then I was like, can I have a makeup touch up, please? Because I think I'm meant to be smiling in our next shot.
I mean, you got through it, and I'm glad Nathan got the handcuffs on finally for, I guess, the final take to kind of complete that. I'm a bit curious, like, do you consider how patients compartmentalizes, processes all that happens in real time during these cases because she doesn't appear, at least outwardly, to carry that emotional weight and baggage from episode to episode.
I think, yeah, I mean, I definitely don't think that, I mean, it'll bite her in the ass later, you know. I don't think that she's used to being emotional around people, and I don't think that that's something she wants to do. So I imagine, after that kind of experience, she does internalize it and kind of pushes it down until it comes back up. Um, but I imagine her finding a lot of comfort with her cat and her animals, and like they're the kind of things, um, and you know, animals and like they're her comfort sort of. That's how she processes things, is, maybe on her own with, in her calm space. But I would be, I'd be a wreck. I'd be like, guys, I'm going to take a couple of days leave because that was awful. I want a bonus. I want medical leave and for you to pay for a therapist. Thank you.
That's what I feel like she really needs. Or a lot of them need like therapy, going to a therapist. But it's really interesting to kind of see that progression because obviously when she was younger, she was really into criminology and forensics, but to be involved firsthand and have that responsibility is very different. Tell me about Patience finding a romantic love interest in Elliot Scott, how she's interpreting these new feelings. What is she finding herself maybe attracted to?
Thing is, I don't know if they're like new feelings. Like, I think she's, definitely been attracted to someone before, but I guess like new feelings towards him. It's like she's in an unfamiliar environment and suddenly, everything is changing in her world. So I kind of imagine her seeing him and like you're liking him, just being like, "Do you know what? I'm already here. Like my routine's already gone out the window. I might as well." Um, and she does grow a lot and she does learn to kind of trust herself and realize that she is valuable, she is useful. There's that kind of little flashback where it's like, she'll find it very hard to be a useful member of society. And I think throughout the episode, she realizes that what she has to say is important, and that she should trust her gut. And, he's a good-looking guy. Lovely Tom. He's a good-looking guy. He's kind of a little bit nerdy like her. He likes the same things, and he sort he asks her out and takes her by surprise, and I think she probably calculates a lot of things. She's like, well, I know that Bee's going to be 52 minutes late, um or whatever. I know she's going to be here at 9 and blah, 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 blah. But I think Elliot actually kind of jumps the gun and that really excites her. But I loved Tom. It was so cute.
That scene in episode 6 was so sweet between them. So, like, having him as a scene partner, like, did you work with any kind of intimacy coordinator, or was it just your director and Tom and kind of going through what would happen in that scene?
No, it was really funny. We both like, oh God, we just had like lunch. I'm just like, does anyone have any gum or something? And then we were both like smoking fags outside, and then we kind of realized we were like, oh, sorry, mate. Do you know what? It's fine. You're doing it too. Um, so we were just like kissing with like tobacco, like tobacco mouth, like sorry.
After you were
Um,
like, I really need that.
I need that mint and you need that mint because we've both been chain smoking since 5 a.m. Um, don't smoke. I don't smoke, by the way. Um, yeah, I mean, we worked because also there isn't just one way to kiss someone, and there's two little kisses. And so we worked with Martin and you know, Tom, and we were like, well, what's the kind of quality of this snog, Um, and we had a little discussion about it, and yeah, I mean, I think the first take we did this, we went the same way, which was a little bit awkward. We both kind of went like this, and I was like, oh, no, I'll do bottom lip, you do top. Okay, yeah, yeah. So it was a little bit awkward. Um, but yeah, it was a great scene, a great atmosphere. I just felt really bad for Maren, the sound guy, because he, always he just had to hear like which is like,
It's always like that kind of awkward thing, I'm sure, for you as the actor, but I thought that their scenes were so cute, like calling each other Mr. Scott and Miss Evans all the
Oh,
time.
I know,
It's like
so
they really like didn't share too much dialogue, but then it was just a lot of glances as well.
nerdy. Yeah, a lot of unspoken moments, which I think Patience probably appreciated. I'm not quite sure that she'd actually know what to say. And she doesn't. She's like, "Dim, dim, just gonna go over here a lot of the time.
And you mentioned maybe like she liked him jumping the gun, and of course he was there waiting for her outside the records office in
Yeah.
that scene. Now, do you think Patience has earned Jake and Baxter's respect and trust by the end of the season, or is there still room to grow there?
I bloody hope so, because I've just done their jobs for 6 episodes, not been paid for it, by the way. This is all on my own accord. So if they don't, then we've got an issue. We'll take this outside. Do you know what I mean? No, I think they do. And I think Jake learns to see her as an adult, I guess, and learns that she's not fragile. She struggles, but she's not gonna. Again, she's an adult woman. And Baxter as well, I think, really, really appreciates and accepts that she's an asset. And whilst she works differently to Jake, B, Will, all of these characters, she's gotten the job done and she's proven them wrong and done right over and over and over again. And there's only so many times that you can ignore that. So I think she does, yeah, in her own way.
It was so nice seeing you and Nathan play off each other in the finale when they were explaining like the anthrax and CDF findings to Baxter because we don't really get to see that in the first 5 episodes. What did you learn about yourself through Patience's journey in season 1, and what qualities did you admire in her?
I wish I was as organized and internal to a point, because I think Patience definitely is internal to a fault, and doesn't share. Anyway, I'd love to be as organized as her. If I could show you the state, I'm not going to turn my camera around because the state of my room and just the state of my life in general is just poor. I need a calendar, I need a timetable. But I really admire that. I admire her passion, I admire her drive, and I admire that she doesn't rest until something's right. And I guess I kind of do that, but in a more like obsessive way. And I think she is a little bit obsessive, but she does it because she has this like really strong sense of justice. And I do really admire that. And I think I've learned, yeah, I mean, I think I have learned that, to trust my gut more. Um, and and I think hopefully the show changes how, people perceive autistic women or just I don't know. I hope they like it.
I think that you did so fantastic. And I know you throughout the interview you were mentioning like maybe some common misconceptions that the show kind of really addresses. And I do think it's always great to see that representation on the screen in a lead character as well. If
The
you do
lead, darling.
of course. And of course you did such a great job stepping into this role because it was such an important role to play. If you do return for a season 2, what are you hoping to see from and explore with Patience?
I mean, the thing is, they don't tell actors anything because they know that I will tell everyone. So I'm in the dark. But I do keep saying to Martin and Alison, director and producer, I'm like, do you think Patience, if we do another season, she could go to like Hawaii? Or maybe she could go to like Greece and have a holiday. Just like, could she have a day off? And they're like, no, what? No, we're not writing. What are you talking about? Um, but I mean, I hope that I'd love to see her relationship with Elliot explored. I'd love for her. I don't know. I'd love for her to be really, really challenged by someone because I think, Jake B and Baxter challenge her, but I'd love to see her kind of actually fully butt heads with someone and get angry. I think I'd love to see patients get angry. Um, I wanna see Jake on one of his dates. With one of his birds, do you know what I mean? I want to see what moves he pulls. And I think Nathan would really like that as well. Yeah, they're my things I hopefully want to see.
I was gonna say the closest maybe she's butt heads with was maybe Baxter and Dr. Parsons as well. They have their moments.
Parsons, yes, she does butt heads with Parsons. I'd like to see more headbutting with Parsons, mainly because I love Liza, who plays Parsons.
And obviously uncovering the code and what was left on the mom's puzzle box, which was the big mystery going into the future.
I don't know. I don't know what it is. And I say that honestly, I really don't know what it
Oh
was.
yeah, of course, but like I'm sure you would love to uncover that as well,
Yeah.
like patients would. I mean, you can't leave a puzzle unsolved. How was the creative team? I know you mentioned Martin a bit, but also just the set crew to work with on a daily basis and the environment that they created for you.
I learned a lot of Dutch because it was mainly a Dutch crew. Um, and so they'd say, "Geluid is verbraakt, quiet, alsjeblieft, 55, alsjeblieft." And they were all so lovely and funny, and we all developed a very lovely relationship. Like we had Sophie who was on props, and she was like my mommy. She was like my mommy on set. I was like, "Hello, mommy, how are you?" And Isla, a lovely AD, and be like, "Hey, honey, how are you doing?" And Conrad with the DOP, he was funny, and everyone was lovely. And I think, in terms of accessibility, it's a day-to-day thing. It's not something that you can impose and stick to religiously. It changes every day for everyone, and everyone just wanted to make sure that everyone, autistic or not, had a good working environment. And they did. We did. It was lovely.
And I just have to say, I'm not sure if you recall it, but the instrumental theme song is kind of stuck in my head from
Oh no,
Patience, the
sorry.
one that it's so beautiful because it plays during some of these pivotal moments as well in these
Mm.
scenes.
It is gorgeous. I might ask Martin to get the playlist. I want the playlist or like the soundtrack to be released because it is gorgeous, gorgeous music. Music.
Up, yes, tell him to make sure it gets uploaded to Spotify so
I'll
everyone
ask.
can hear it. Couple more questions to round things off. What can you share about your upcoming projects? Please correct me if I'm pronouncing it wrong, but it's Bergerac and CC
Bergerac, yeah.
Emily.
Yeah, Bergerac. I filmed that a couple of months ago actually. I think that's coming out in February, so I'm really excited to watch that. CC Emily. I can't remember when I filmed that. No idea when it's coming out. And then I did actually find out that I got a job the other day, which I can't tell you about. Um, but I'm so grateful for patience because it's, things, wheels are turning. Big wheels keep on turning. The proud Mary keep on burning. Do you know what I mean? Big wheels keep on turning. And so really exciting things are happening, and now my emails aren't just like spam from like, I don't know, whatever website I've signed up to or not signed up to. It's, people being like, "Hey Ella." So 2025 is looking really, really exciting. And that's all you're gonna get.
Now you actually have to go through your emails instead of just deleting everything.
I
You're like, I
know.
have to filter,
Yeah.
which is a lovely thing.
I know, because sometimes I'll like swipe, and I'm like, "Oh no, 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 that was important. That was important. That wasn't like 50% off, I don't know, Windows."
Well, I'm so excited for what's to come for you. And of course, patience being such a great role and an introduction to many, I'm sure, to for your work. Lastly, if you could be any ice cream flavor, which would you be and why?
I wouldn't be an ice cream, I'd be a sorbet. I don't like ice cream. I know. I like sorbet. So I think I would be a really, really tart lemon sorbet. And do you know what? I like a cone. I like a cone. So I think I'd be on a good day, I would be mango sorbet and then lemon sorbet on top. And then because I am quite irritating sometimes, your hands would get a little bit sticky and you'd be like, oh. Um, so that's what I would be.
I love it. And it feels very tropical as well. And who doesn't love a good mango?
Oh, oh, no, everyone likes mango. And everyone likes me. No, they don't.
Perfect way to end things off. Thank you so much, Ella, for taking the time to chat. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, Chloe. This is lovely.
I hope we get to catch up in the future for upcoming projects. But until then, for all those watching, make sure to catch Ella in Patience. It is out on Channel 4 in the UK. All episodes can be streamed on demand, and we will see you next time.
Bye.